Hey, how would you like to know the secret of how we have grown probably well over 300 pounds of strawberries in our hoop house here? You betcha. So I've asked my dad to share with you exactly what we did to these strawberry plants to prepare the beds, and as we were growing them to get the bumper crop of harvest that we've had this year. But there's a catch, because during this bumper crop, we had a bumper catastrophe as well with a lot of disease. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you what we did to solve that problem too. But first, here's my dad sharing with you what we did to grow our bumper crop of strawberries this year.
Paul's asked me to share how we set up our strawberry beds here. We have 3 beds that are 90 feet long each. The last bed is probably 75, 80 feet, something like that. We had garlics and at the other end of it. The third bed, this one here, we got some strawberry plants that were smaller, and they were the rejects that nobody wanted. and we also planted them way later, so they haven't gotten as big as the ones in these 2 rows here. Anyways, the way we do strawberries is we grow them as annuals, because in the southeast here the disease pressure is so heavy that it's farmers who grow strawberries commercially in the southeast have all gone to annual production. So
organic.
Yeah, no, all farmers. Jennifer was saying organically, and no, this is something that all farmers have done in the southeast, because, and in a lot of other parts of the country as well, because you just have good, strong, healthy plants, and if you keep them on, the plants will get weaker and the production goes down, and your disease issues just get heavier and harder. So the way we do annual production is we get plugs, and the plugs are made from when the strawberries send out runners, and those runners want to tip. They form a little end that wants to send down roots, and so plugs are made by taking those runners with the tips, the roots on them, and we put them in little plug. You get a tray that has all these plug things in it, and we fill it up with potting soil, and then put those plugs in it. You can buy the plugs already rooted like that, or you can get the tips and root them yourselves. My brother buys the tips and roots them, and then we bought the plugs from him. Anyways, we bought those plugs, and then we make beds, and our beds are 30 inches wide, and like I said, 90 feet long. We found that size does really well for most things. We're finding it's a little bit small for the strawberries, especially we only have a 1-foot walkway between our beds in the hoop house here. If we were doing it outside, we would have an 18-inch walkway. That makes it a lot easier to work. But with them this close, we're often sitting on the berries behind us, and the berries go out into the row, and it's hard not to step on them. But it's working okay. So we made the beds, we broad forked them, and then we put worm castings on them, and I put a a 5-gallon bucket of worm castings. I use the bow spacing on our beds to kind of guide me. And our bows are spaced 6 feet apart. So I do 1 5-gallon bucket every 2 bow lengths. You could do it more thick if you wanted. And, that wouldn't hurt. I'd say 1 5-gallon bucket every 6 to 10 feet you probably don't need much more than that, but that's pretty thick. Then we put quite a bit of green sand. I had green sand, and I just took a handful of green sand up, and I put 4 handfuls between each bow spacing. And I did the same with kelp meal. And the green sand and the kelp are both potassium-rich sources, but they also have quite a range of other micronutrients that will be available as they're broken down. And strawberries and actually any fruiting crop really needs a good supply of potassium. So that's why I did that. Then we put on some nitrogen. I had quite a bit of peanut meal that we're using as a nitrogen source. It's nice. It smells like we spread peanut butter all over in here when we're done. But anyways, I don't remember exactly how much of that, but probably about the 4 handfuls again of peanut meal per 6 feet, and then on that's to give a quick release nitrogen. But because we're planting these in the fall and they're overwintering through spring, I wanted to put in some slow release nitrogen as well. And we have a farmer who's a couple hours away from us who grows soybeans organically, and he'll put the soybeans through a machine that breaks them. It doesn't grind them into powder, it just breaks them in pieces so that they won't grow. And so then we scattered those broken pieces on our bed. And I think it was about 2.5 gallons of the broken soybean meal that we spread on each bed. And that was it for the amendments. We don't use any phosphorus on our farm because our soil is super high in phosphorus, and we just can't afford to add any more phosphorus to it. So we don't even use animal manures because we don't want the extra phosphorus. So that's how we amended them. Then we take this plastic mulch and we spread it out on the beds, and take soil in the aisle from underneath the plastic and bring it up on top. And that's how we put the mulch down. And of course we have 2 drip lines running down underneath the plastic mulch as well, so that we can irrigate. So that's what we've done to our strawberries this year, and they've done very, very well for us. Because we have them in the hoop house, they were wanting to flower the beginning of February, and we don't usually want them to start flowering until the beginning of March. But we decided, since we had them in the hoop house, let's try it. So we let them start flowering in February, and we started getting our
Covered them during freeze.
Yeah, of course we had to cover them with floating row covers when it got cold, when it was gonna freeze, to protect the flowers. And then we started harvesting our strawberries about the second week of April, I think. Jennifer's saying it was the second week of March, but we started getting a few strawberries here and there. Those first flowers weren't that productive, but we did start harvesting
You were a full month earlier than the other plant.
in March. Yeah, we were a month ahead of my brother with his strawberries outside, and we've harvested in excess of 300 pounds off of these 3 rows, and we're at the end of May now, and we're still harvesting. It's starting to thin out a bit.
As the plants were growing, did you do any spraying of other things to help them grow?
I did do a little foliar spraying in the fall. I haven't done. I'm trying to remember if I did some in the spring. I think I did do it once. I did do it once in the spring. Yeah. We have an inoculant called BioAg that we put on them, and so I did that in the fall as well as one time in the spring, and I mixed in that inoculant actually has some kelp, liquid kelp and liquid molasses in it, but I added some more of both of those things, and I used a little sea salt as well when I sprayed. So I think I sprayed about 3 or 4 times in the fall and once this spring. It probably should have been done more times this spring, but
That's awesome. Okay, so there you go. You get to see exactly what we did, or hear from my dad exactly what we did to grow our bumper crop of strawberries. But like I said, there's a catch, because we had kind of a bumper catastrophe as well, and that is that we had a lot of disease problem, not more mold problems. So the plants themselves did really well, but we had lots of mold that kind of got into the strawberries, and it was really terrible. Like, we would be picking, and it seemed like almost every other strawberry we were pulling off was just completely molded. Like the whole strawberry would get covered in mold. So what we did to solve that problem, how would you like to know? Here's what we did. So our strawberry plants got super, super, super bushy. Like, there was so much leaves, such thick foliage, that we had the idea, hey, why don't we thin them out? Maybe they're not getting enough air through them to help dry out, and maybe it'll help with this moisture problem. So as you can see in this shot here, these are some of our plants before we thinned them. You can see how bushy and big they are. And here are some of the plants after we pruned them, thinned them out. So what we did, and by the way, we're still picking strawberries off of these. So what we did is we came and we took all of the leaves around the base of the strawberry plant out, and then we came and just pulled quite a few leaves from the center as well. And I don't know if you can see in the video, I think you can, that these are much, much less dense of foliage. And the results have been absolutely phenomenal. So we went from having, like I said, it seemed like every other one is like 40-50% of the berries we're pulling off of there seemed to be bad, mushy, just rotten, terrible, to the last time that I picked, probably, I don't know, 5% were bad, like 10% maybe, max. I would say probably more like around 5% that were bad. So it really made a huge significant difference. If you're having issues with your strawberries, having a lot of mold, rot issues, then that's something that you could try. Is thin them out, take off those extra leaves, make sure that they get good airflow in there so that they can dry out, and hopefully they'll do a lot better for you. So go take these tips, use them, grow some awesome strawberries, and if you enjoy these gardening tips and tricks and want more of them, make sure to subscribe to this channel, jump on our email list especially to get more updates and live free trainings and stuff like that. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time in the next video.